spending is $49 million. Is that correct? How did you arrive at that number?
Yeah, that's about, well, that's what our spending is. We wanted to have programs and plans that were going to be meaningful to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, programs around driving our economy, and around our 4 pillars really, on health, mental health, on better lifestyle and living, on opportunities for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians around jobs and how can we drive those jobs and opportunities right in rural communities as well as urban communities. And it's around putting people first as well, and of course there's an important focus on the economy as well. And the economy creates those opportunities to do the things that we want to do as a province, and allows for people to come and live in Newfoundland and Labrador, to stay in Newfoundland and Labrador, and to raise their families in the communities which they chose to live in or choose to live in.
Why did you decide to do it this way, to reveal your Blue Book this way without any notice?
First is, we gave notice this morning we were doing it. I tell you, we worked on it, Fred. We worked on this heavily for the last number of days. I was pushing my crew to finalize our plan. I wanted to get it out as quickly as we could so people could have ample time to digest it, ask questions about it, discuss it. So I want to get out early in the campaign, and it was finalized late yesterday. Had a last look on it last night, and again this morning I said, okay, we're great to finalize it, and let's go with it. So there's different ways. I don't think there's any rule book that says you have to do a big splash or anything like that. I just wanted to get it out to make the information available to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians so they could look at our plan, they could make a decision how they feel about our plan, understand what our focus is, and have a chance to digest it and review it.
It says you want to have the lowest small business tax rate in the country. Now, my understanding is Manitoba has 0.
That's right.
So, does that mean you're lowering it to 0?
Well, yeah. Well, we want to be competitive with Manitoba. We have to look at all the costs that businesses are reflective in Manitoba, as well as in Newfoundland and Labrador. And this is about looking at the broader scope as well, and broader taxation and cost of taxation for small business. And we look at technology industry as an example. Businesses here in our province have done extremely well in building technologies, and we always know that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are resilient, but they're also very creative. And in many cases, there's many examples where homegrown businesses have been out front on technology. So we got to make sure that they can stay here and grow their business here, and that their taxation is not a burden for them staying in Newfoundland and Labrador. So we want to do a full review of all the provinces, and our goal is to achieve the best and lowest small business tax rate anywhere in the country.
Go from 3 to 0. That's what you're promising.
And if that's what all the tax rates are, the lowest tax rate, and that's the only tax that they have, then that's where we're going to go.
Now, in the budget though, you've looked at there's about $10 or $12 million in order to cover that. But the small business tax brings in close to $50 million. So if you're bringing it down to 0, isn't that going to be a much bigger cost than what you've got allotted for?
Yeah, so it's $12 million a year, but what we're looking at is that you have to look at all the taxations for small business, because and all of the impacts of fees and services, what it costs for them to operate here in the province, and we want to be most competitive in that regard, and we will be. It benefits Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. It benefits business, and businesses hire people here and drives the economy, and that provides all the things that are in our platform, from health and opportunity, people in the economy. It brings all that together and supports that.
But how do you square the fact that it's you want to bring it to 0, and that's bigger than what's cost? That's a bigger number than what's costed.
And there are other taxes and factors and fees that businesses pay. So we have to take a holistic view, not just strictly the small business tax itself, but what other fees and services do people pay in Manitoba, what other costs are to operate a business in Manitoba, and we will be competitive. And we have to do what it takes in order to make sure that we give the best opportunity for small business in our province. And if the cost goes higher than that, I think it'll benefit us as a province to make those competitiveness. We used to see one time, back in the 90s, how often do we see businesses are leaving our province? They're moving away and leaving Newfoundland and Labrador. They're taking their employees out of this province. They're taking that economic driver out of Newfoundland and Labrador. We don't want that to happen. We've grown businesses, we got better paying jobs, second highest salaries in the country happen right here in Newfoundland and Labrador today, and we need to make sure that continues to happen. And we hear from business groups that small business is 8 out of 10 jobs in our province are created by small business. So we have to be competitive. We have to give them the best chance to be successful here, and that's what we're going to do.
So just to be clear, that would mean then that the small business tax rate may not go to 0, it may be 1 or 2%, but as long as that is an lower overall cost than some other costs that businesses may have to pay in Manitoba. So you're not specifically saying you'll match the small business tax rate with Manitoba.
It's about competitiveness. And it's about making sure that Newfoundland and Labrador companies stay right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And that in many ways is the business tax. But in Manitoba, do they have other taxes? Well, let's look at that and make sure that our companies can stay here and compete against companies in Manitoba, and we have the lowest tax rate available to them. But one of the good things, I'm glad because you've only had a couple hours to be looking at our plan, but back in June, remember the Liberals talked about their LEAP program, their Liberal Economic Action Plan, and they said back then they're going to travel the province and they will announce their plan in September. And September came and went, no plan. October came and went, no plan. And here we are now in late November, and they still have not announced their plan. I wanted to make sure our plan was out so people could have, as early as possible, have a look at it and assess what our plan is, what our vision is, and how we're going to move forward with Newfoundland and Labrador.
Part of your plan is going to involve, excuse me, part of your plan is going to involve phasing out this portion of people having to spend their money before they seek long-term care. Can you explain a little bit about that and why you're doing that now?
Yeah, so this has been a topic in the province for some time, and I've listened to it. I've talked to seniors who now require the supports from to move into long-term care and to government-assisted supported care, and I think we're probably one of the few provinces left where we actually look at the assets that people have had, and I don't know where the fairness is in that. If a family's done well to build a nest egg and to have savings, why do we need to bleed those savings dry before they're eligible for those programs? I just think it's wrong. I think it's wrong for us to do that, and we should end it, and that's what my commitment is.
Is there a cost associated to that? What does the province make each year now based on what they do collect from people who have to pay?
Yeah, so it varies, but what happens is the people who have the money in the bank don't avail of those services.
But have you figured out what the cost would be to the province in terms of what you do collect now?
Yeah, but see, what we collect now, they don't apply for the service. They're not utilizing those services. They're saying, well, I'm not going to go into a home because I'm going to have to give up my nest egg that I've saved all my life. So they're not utilizing. So they're being removed from accessing those services, and that's the complaints that I hear. If we eliminate this, that will provide people with a better option to avail of the services that they need for the best care for their loved ones and their aging parents, their family members that are important to them.
A lot of the promises in this platform are just marked as EBE, existing budget envelope. If you're putting money into investing in expanding the role of EMS professionals, or investing in farmers markets, does that mean you're cutting somewhere else?
No, what it means is a better use of funding and programs, and as time goes on, programs shift and change. Program that was very necessary 10 or 15 years ago may not be a priority or a need today. So we need to make sure that our programs stay current, and we need to make sure they're providing best value. We listen to what people have to tell us. We listen to what Newfoundland and Labradorians have said to us, and we know that we want to respond to that. We want to respond to say, well, what's important to you? What are the programs and services you see that you need? And then how do we adjust our programs to meet the needs of our province today? And that's what these commitments are. We've got to be nimble. We've got to be able to change and move and change our focus on a regular basis. And government hasn't done a very good job of that. And we need to move with the speed of demands. We need to move with the speed of business from an economic and a business point of view. But we also need to move and change with the speed of demands that people in the province have and on us as a government today. And we haven't done a very good job of that. And that's what a lot of these programs are. Let's do what people want.
So you're going to cut programs that are no longer relevant to what people need today?
Or shift them or change their focus, and that's quite often what happens. Not so much about cutting them, it's changing their focus so it meets the needs of today.
Why don't you outline that in the platform? There's a lot of talk of the new things you're going to do. Why not say, as part of the platform, these are the programs that we don't think are providing good value anymore?
Well, we could probably write, I suppose, books and books and books, and in the coming days and weeks between now and as the campaign continues, we're going to make announcements that are more specific about what's laid out in this very high level platform. We didn't want to get into a platform that's going to be chapters and chapters and chapters, and we've seen that in the past, and I didn't think that was the right way forward. We want to be clear and concise what our focus is, where we believe that we need to focus as a government to provide programs and services and benefits to the province. How do we drive our economy? How do we build the future of Newfoundland and Labrador, and how do we do that with our partnerships? And that's where we came with our plan. Of course, it's about leadership first and foremost. It's about health. It's about opportunities, about people in our economy. And you mix those together, that's the future of Newfoundland and Labrador.
But if